Asato Ma, sadgamaya, from the unreal, let us be led towards the real. Tamaso Ma, jyotirgamaya, from darkness, let us be led into light. Mṛtyormā'mṛtaṃ gamaya, from death, let us be led to everlasting life. That's this mantra from the Brhadaranyaka Upanisad, one of the oldest Upanishads, maybe the oldest. And I really love this mantra this time of year, obviously, because it talks about moving from darkness to light, which is what we're now doing. We've turned, the darkness of the year, or the darkest point in the year. And it kind of is like a lovely, beautiful, like sweetie in itself, this mantra, because it actually does, like all the mantras, it does automatically the thing that it's talking about. To my mind, and I'll lead you to this idea a little bit. This is a little jnana yoga section, and then we'll move from that into the real goodness. But for me, and this is why we're doing this practice here, kirtan and chanting is like a guiding light in itself, really, because it's so easy to feel lost. It's so easy to feel blinded in the dark. That's why we're here, I think. And more about this mantra. I really like its duality. It quite clearly goes sat, asat, from truth, from untruth to truth. Tamas, darkness, to jyotir, light. Mṛtyor, from murder, from death to, that's the similarity with Celtic, again, the mṛtyor is the similar thing. From death to everlasting life, amrita. This mantra demonstrates that the yoga tradition acknowledges that the world is dualistic, or that at least our experience of the world is dualistic. I always wonder to what extent the world is inherently dualistic, or it's just that it's the way we see it because we have two eyes. I don't know. But this mantra acknowledges that, and as always in the yoga tradition, provides you with a way out, a light. Yes, everyone's nodding because you feel it here. So yeah, it's our two eyes. We have two eyes, so we think the world has two phases. Because if you think about it, actually, we just name darkness and light as the two extremes. But in between, just like the twilight, there's plenty of the middle. There's the dawn. There's something else. Our logical mind creates opposites. I was thinking about, okay, if we're going from asat to sat, so I'm just going to plant all these ideas in your mind, and then you can throw them out and forget about them, or maybe feel them as we're doing the rest of the practice. What is asat? What is the unreal? And you can think about what that might be for you. You don't have to say now. My suggestions are basically everything that comes out your noggin is probably something unreal. It's our either interpretations or misinterpretations or projections onto the world, our attempts to organize this chaotic life. By organizing it, unfortunately, organizing things, Dan was saying how I'm lovely and organized with my notebook and everything else. Actually, all I do is just try to make the world into a comfortable and tidy thing for me to deal with. It's not always a good thing. Yeah, right. So, you have your stories about the world, and necessarily what that leads to is your desire. And we know that from the tradition that desire is the thing that creates all of suffering, because necessarily, if you are wanting, it means that you're wanting something which is not. If you want a car, it's because you don't have one. If you want it to be light, it's because it's dark. No one ever wants what they don't want they already have, because we can't even see it. Wanting is necessarily rejecting reality. So when this mantra asks us to move from asat, from desire, from stories, to sat, it's about acceptance. Many of you know that I love the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 16, of that which is not real, asat. There's no becoming real. Tough. What you want, if it's not here, is not going to happen, at least not now. That which is real, there's no unbecoming. The truth of both of these is understood by those who feel the essence of what the world is, tattva, you know. So, what is unreal? And then the mantra says, can we get to the real? So how do we get to the real? Because this mantra is very mathematical, it goes from unreal to real, it goes from darkness to light, it goes from death to undeath. What yoga often does is it goes, look at this pattern, the same thing is repeating in other parts of the universe, in other parts of nature. From dark, it's dark now, but what's going to happen in like 12, maybe, no, about how many hours? Like 15, 18 hours, what's going to happen? The sun's going to rise. It's gonna. Nothing you can do is going to stop it. There's no sat coming from this asat coming from this sat. It's going to happen. The winter's going to turn into spring. You can't stop it. Does that mean then that we're necessarily going to move from untruth to truth? Does it mean maybe? Can we trust that maybe we're going to be led to everlasting life naturally? Maybe. Because at the end of the day, how powerful are we as individuals, actually, to change that? Are we so incredibly, have the audacity to think that we, with our practice, can actually make ourselves immortal? Maybe it's already going to happen. But there's two more things that you can do to go from darkness to light. And it's this. You can open your eyes, which is our practice. Because the sun can rise, but you can be sitting like this. Or like this. It's true, no? So you can open your eyes, that's practice. Abhyasa, the effort to come back to steadiness. Or through this holiday, the mantra I've been using for myself, like the only spoken mantra, is this: breathe in and come into presence. Breathe out, put down your suffering. Put it down means that you have the agency to do it. And the third thing that you can do is to remove the shroud. Because sometimes when we open our eyes, we still don't see. All we can see is the programming, the filters, the stories people told us, the things that we have to do. The dharma of someone else, basically. Sometimes that's all we can see. We can't see that we already have it, that we're on the wheel, which is turning. So, this mantra reminds us that we can eventually, organically go from death to everlasting life, because the only part that's going to die is the bit which has all these stories in it. It's not about trying to do something to become immortal, it's to realize that you already are, in the same way that the sun is going to rise in the morning.